Hey everyone, how's it going? I believe we're live. Hope we are. And welcome to another episode of Josh Wonders Why. If you are new to this experience, it's a weekly discussion that I have with Kelly here to go through just a variety of topics that's in our mind, just to start the week off with a bang, with some fun discussion, and hopefully give you some reprieve from all the news you get on social media or in your daily life. So
Yep.
we try our best.
Yep.
So tonight we'll be talking about, we'll have another top 5 list. We'll be talking about our top 5 favorite Easter songs. And I picked this background. If you watched it before when we did our Christmas songs, we had a nice fireplace. When I was setting this up last week, it was raining a lot. I don't think it stopped raining for like 3 days. So I was feeling a little rainy, felt this was nice and springy, Eastery or whatnot as a backdrop. So if you are watching us, be curious to get your feedback on what some of your favorite Easter songs are. I know people had commented on my Family Friday that I'll pull up just to acknowledge that. But if you're watching live, feel free to chime in on your favorite songs as well. Oh yeah, and if you missed last week, we did do our famous or infamous Peeps tasting episode for Easter.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I was feeling pretty sick that night with all the sugar I had. I had a nice salad, try to balance it out, just to try to balance it. But I was feeling a little, I don't know, just maybe on a sugar high. I don't know what it was. My body isn't used to getting that much sugar.
Well, and
hopefully you survived. Well, apparently you did because you're here.
You know, I just took a bite of everything, and then when the camera was no longer rolling, I ate it all. Then I too was a little, yeah, a little too much sugar.
I think it was the fruity ones, just the sour stuff. Maybe the sour
We just had
flavor.
one that was sour.
Guess, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be blaming on that. It's just me being weak. I don't know. So you should go back and watch it.
You need to up your Peeps tolerance.
I do. The problem is I have it once a year. I need to have it throughout the year so I can go after it. So that's fun. But tonight we'll be talking about our top 5 favorite Easter songs. So we'll start off, and if I can, let's see if I can use the, yeah, perfect. Okay. So I'll start with mine. We'll go Kelly. We'll count down 5 to 1. Talk about our songs, if there's anything interesting to mention about them, and maybe why they are our favorite songs. So the first one for me is When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. And I was looking through this. I think the majority of mine, except for one, are all hymns, and they're all from the United Methodist hymnal. So I don't know if it's I just like, maybe growing up in the church, these are songs that we sang around Easter, and I maybe enjoyed the tunes. I find that most of these tunes sort of have throughout the song, they change and go to and I don't know, because you're a music major, but they go to a sharp or a flat section and go back up. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Anyways,
I will say this, as someone who played the organ for years, Easter hymns are the hardest.
Okay.
They're the hardest to play.
And I'll ask you at the end of this, what was your least favorite song to play on the organ? But we'll table that for the end. So I'm curious to get your take. So, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, that is in the Methodist hymnal. There's actually 2 different renditions, 2 different tunes that it's played to. It's written by an English congregational minister named Isaac Watts and was published back in 1707. I found this interesting about Isaac. He was actually known as it said in quotes, Godfather of English hymnody or something.
Huh.
So
the Godfather.
He wrote around 750 hymns. Most are still used today sometimes. He did also write the famous Joy to the World. I didn't realize that. So
he
wrote Joy to the World, and he wrote this one. This song also I found is interesting. It's significant because it was innovative at the time because it departed from the early English hymn style of just using paraphrased biblical texts. This one sort of strayed from that and used his own, I guess, personal lyrics or poetry. So I just enjoy it. I think it's got a good message, but I enjoy the underlying tune of the song. It's just it's a neat song to sing. I mean, it's a little slow, but it's got some nice tune and nice words to it. So.
But there are 2 different tunes, right?
Yeah, I don't know which one I like the best. I don't know which one it is. Whichever one YouTube showed me.
Whichever one.
So it's $2.98 and $2.99 if you're going to check it out. Maybe we should have brought a keyboard. You could have played a few bars of each of the.
I could have, yeah. Did you say $2.98?
$2.98, yes.
Yeah, most people know the $2.98.
Okay.
When I survey the wondrous cross. Most people know that one.
Yeah.
And then there's an arrangement, and I don't remember who did it, but it's more of a contemporary arrangement, but it has this hymn in it, but then it goes into a chorus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't heard that one. Okay, let's jump to your number 5.
I have down Up From the Grave He Arose. This is by Robert Lowry, who was a Baptist preacher. Wrote it in 1874. He also wrote Nothing But the Blood of Jesus and Shall We Gather at the River. I like this one because there's kind of this transition between Good Friday and Easter, because the verses are like a dirge. Low in the grave he lay, and then up from the grave he arose. It's just like, you know, and some people apparently remember jumping up on the chorus.
Yeah,
like being down low, and then you jump up on the chorus. I've never done that myself.
I can see that happening. It is a change. It just, if you're not ready for it, it shocks you when you jump to the chorus.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's fun to sing. Okay, let's see. Number 4 for me is The Old Rugged Cross. So this is also a Methodist hymn. It's written by George Bernard in 1912. And what's interesting is that it says that the song stemmed from a low period in which he had been ridiculed by youths at an earlier revival. So the heckling was so extreme that he felt as burdened as Christ carrying the cross for his crucifixion. And that's where he started writing the lyrics. What? That's at least what I found online.
Well, I believe that. I'm just thinking, I don't think that really compares. Should be heckled compared to Christ on the cross? No, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, until you're in shoes, I guess you know how hard it's been heckled.
Well, I've been heckled
by those youths in 1912. You never know those.
My husband will heckle me, so you know I'm kind of used to it. But
so he wrote it as a revival song or a worship song at the time, but I think it sort of gained popularity in the mid 1900s, 1950, when it was, I guess, sort of picked up and heralded by country gospel singers and sort of took on by famous people singing it. The list goes on, but some of the famous people have covered this song over the years. Al Green, Andy Griffith, Brad Paisley. I'm trying to look through the list of stuff. I guess Johnny Cash and June Carter. I do remember hearing that song or that rendition. Let's see. Merle Haggard, Patsy Cline. And the list goes on and on.
Elvis.
It's not Elvis isn't on this list, surprisingly. They list like
does anybody know if Elvis recorded Old Rugged Cross?
I don't know.
So put it in the comments if you know.
Yeah, he did sing a bunch of old
yeah.
Was it gospel songs? And it's got Willie Nelson, Alan Jackson, and I think Carrie Underwood recorded a version of this too. But I enjoy maybe the country version. I'm not sure what the original version was that George Bernard wrote it towards, but I enjoy hearing the country version of this song. Whether or not you believe how he wrote it, or if you, I mean,
it's not a favorite of mine.
Why is that?
I think probably just the theology of the lyrics, you know. But I understand that people grow up with that song and it's very meaningful to people, you know. So just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean you can't be a fan.
So the problem with the songs for me is I mostly like the songs for the tune. I don't really pay attention to the lyrics as much. At least that's my excuse. But so the theology could be totally harebrained, but if the tune is catchy, I will enjoy it for the tune. So, but I'll have to read that. I'll go through it again. But it's in the Methodist hymnal. I mean, you can't argue with it being the Methodist hymnal.
Yes, right? I can.
I guess you weren't consulted for this.
There are hymns that I don't think should be in here, but nobody asked me.
They should have. You should write a letter to the council. Okay, number 4 for you.
Easter Song by Annie Herring, 1974. And she wrote this song, and when she wrote it, she thought this would be a great choir anthem. But whoever it was that was producing their albums, because she was in a group called Second Chapter of Acts. was her sister, and her brother, I believe. And whoever, like their manager or whatever, is like, no, you guys got to record this. You got to record this. And the drummer was like, I can't figure out, what to do with drums on this, because she didn't write it for the, like a band kind of thing. But they finally figured it out. It definitely sounds like a song from the 70s. It's got 3-part harmony. It's got flute, piano, probably some guitar in there.
Don't know if I've heard this song.
But it's just, I'll have to post that one.
Well, I guess we'll make a YouTube list for this.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll make a playlist.
But it also has been recorded by Keith Green and the group named Glad. So, and all of those are really good recordings to listen to. It's very upbeat and fast. I guess that's what upbeat means, isn't it? Upbeat means fast. It's upbeat and peppy.
Peppy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I may have heard it, but
you may have.
It was called Easter song.
Yeah, you're probably too young to have heard it.
Well, I mean, okay. Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, did it come on the radio or?
Well,
I doubt it. I mean, at the time, there weren't really maybe contemporary Christian hits that made. I mean, I know the Johnny and was it June Carter? Johnny Cash and June Carter probably got famous on the radio for their or June Carter at least was famous, but that was like 20 years before that, though, right?
Well, I mean, they did perform. They widely performed. And,
yeah.
I can't name any of their other songs, but.
Okay.
But yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Next one for me is Christ is Risen. This is the only contemporary Christian song I have on here. Like I said, all the rest are hymns. This is by Matt Maher, and it was, I guess, went out in 2009. I enjoy it. So it's sort of like, what's your Up From the Grave He Rose? Because the song is pretty slow. But then the chorus is where it gets, I guess, exciting or maybe faster because the chorus is, because it starts out with the first verse and it's slow, and then it builds up to then the chorus goes, Christ is risen from the dead, trampling over death by death, come awake, come and rise up from the grave.
Yeah.
So it sort of picks it up and then goes back to slow. So I enjoy it for the chorus, but the lyrics are pretty nice for the verses as well. So Christ is risen. Number 3 for you.
He Lives. And this is one of Susan's she put on here that she likes. He Lives is by Alfred Ackley, 1933. He was also a preacher. And so I found this little story. At some revival or service or something, a young Jewish man challenged him with this question: why should I worship a dead Jew? And Ackley said to him, he lives. I tell you, he is not dead, but lives here and now. Jesus Christ is more alive today than ever before. I can prove it by my own experience as well as the testimony of countless thousands. So then, shortly after that, he was preparing for his church's Easter service, getting ready in the morning, shaving, whatever. And he was listening to the radio. And this preacher on the radio said, it's Easter. Folks, it really doesn't make any difference to me if Christ be risen or not. As far as I am concerned, his body could be as dust in some Palestinian tomb. The main thing is his truth goes marching on. And this made Alfred pretty angry, and he shouted at the radio. Some even say through the radio across the room. And I get that because that's some terrible theology. And it said it was a well-known preacher at the time. So he didn't name it. Nobody named it. But so his wife, comes in because she hears the racket, and she encouraged him to put his thoughts down in a song. And so that's how he came up with He Lives. And I think it's a real popular one.
Okay.
I think that's probably my husband's favorite, although when I was leaving the house, he said his favorite was Here Comes Peter Cottontail. So
is that in the Methodist hymnal? I'm not aware of that one.
No, it's not. It did not make it into the hymnal.
So it's interesting that the song, he wrote the song to refute the evangelist or the evangelist preacher they heard on the radio. Uh-huh. That's interesting that the wife is like, rather than take your anger out and writing a hymn, right?
Yes, stop breaking stuff. Just write a hymn.
That's hilarious. I don't know if I've heard that one, but I probably have. I'll need to.
Yeah,
I
bet you have.
The title, but I probably will recognize the tune. Okay, number 2 for me is...
Because it ends with, you ask me how I know he lives within my heart.
Okay,
so
that does sound familiar.
Heard it.
Yeah. Number 2 for me is "Thine Be the Glory." So it's also a Methodist hymnal written by a Swiss. Okay.
I'm sorry. I just started humming it.
I thought it was like something else going like an alarm.
Oh no!
When I heard your humming, sorry. Yeah. So it's written by a Swiss Protestant minister named Edmund Budry in 1885. It was reported that he was inspired to write it after the death of his first wife. One thing that I found interesting for this one is that is actually set to a tune that was written by Handel, that he wrote, called Maccabeus, and it was actually written for it's called like an opera, but it's called an oratorio, and the name of the oratorio is Joshua. So me being Josh, I think I'm more drawn to this tune. But the chorus of this opera, they keep singing, "See the conquering hero comes," and it's about celebrating the victories of Joshua. So I find it's interesting that "Thine Be the Glory" about Christ, Christ being glorious, I'm at a loss for words, is similar to Joshua being a conquering hero, right? In a way.
So here's a little trivia. An oratorio is the equivalent of opera, but an oratorio is sacred music.
Oh, okay. So it's a sacred. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'd never heard the term before, and all I found it was like an opera, but it's a religious opera in a way. Okay. So is the Messiah or Handel's Messiah, is that considered an oratorio as well?
I suppose. Yeah.
You throw a trivia at me, I'm going to ask you questions.
I know, yeah.
I'm going to wonder more.
I suppose so. Yeah, I didn't think about it. Yeah.
So that's wondering. So you wrote one about the Messiah and you wrote one about Joshua. So, okay, let's see. Number 2 for you.
Christ the Lord is risen today. Of course, by Charles Wesley, the brother of the Methodist founder John Wesley, written in 1739. He wrote so many hymns. He didn't always write the music. I think he just wrote the words for this one. But it originally had 11 verses. Oh yeah, he wrote the words, and the music is just an older church tune. So
that is one of my favorites as well. Christ the Lord is risen today.
Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic Easter song.
So they cut it off at 6. It looks like in the hymnal.
Yeah, and actually 2 of them are optional, I think. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever done the.
They don't have any on the back like the other ones?
No.
Okay.
Usually just do the first 4 verses.
Yeah.
But so this might be jumping the gun on your question, but this is one of the hardest ones to play.
Why is that?
Because your feet get really busy on the pedals. Because it's got a lot of notes in the bass line, and that you play with your feet, and so.
So this is one of the songs.
And it's fast.
This is one of the songs you can tell a good organ player from a bad organ player if they can play this one.
Well, I don't know, but
put you on the spot.
But I like playing it. It just, at first when I started playing, it was a lot harder, and then it got easier because I played it every year.
So when I guess to determine, did you get the song from the pastor, or did you have any say in the songs that they picked for Sundays? When you were the
it just
organist?
depended.
So when you saw this, you probably started. I got to start prepping maybe a couple weeks in advance.
I
right?
would spend a little. Yeah, there are some hymns I'm like, yeah, I can just play that one, but I would usually need to, work on this a little bit, get my feet going, and yeah. It's
a great song to sing.
Now I'm gonna have to go to work tomorrow and open the organ and play it. See if I can still play it.
See if you still got it.
I haven't played the organ for a while.
Well, you got 6 verses to play it, so you should get good after a while, right?
4.
Well, yeah, 4. But there's 6 total.
Never done 6.
I wonder which one has.
I would be so tired if we did 6 verses. I would be so tired.
I wonder which hymn has the most. I think We Three Kings has like 6 or 7 verses as well.
No,
right?
I think it has 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah, because it just has the 3 kings, and then maybe like a.
I thought there were okay.
Yeah, I don't think there are that many verses.
Okay.
But like, 4,000 Tons to Sing, that has a lot of verses.
Okay, maybe that.
But that's also see, did Charles write that one? I feel like John did some lyrics. Yep, Charles Wesley wrote "O 4,000 Tongues to Sing." Yes, this is the one that we can turn the page and there are all these verses. 2, 4, 6,
Charles just
8,
liked to write
16,
verses, it seems
17
like.
verses.
I'm guessing the longest, the most verses in here are mostly Charles Wesley songs.
I don't know, maybe.
They're all, okay.
But,
So number one for me is Because He Lives, which is also a Methodist hymn. Or it's in the Methodist hymnal. I shouldn't say it's a Methodist hymn.
It's in the Methodist. It is a Gaither song.
It is. It's written by the Gaithers, and it was written in, I don't know, in the early 70s, but it was actually awarded the Gospel Song of the Year in 1974 by the Gospel Music Association. They said, okay, it's 1971, I'm sorry. So it says, I guess, when they were interviewing the Gaithers, and I found this in the UMC.org website has an article about this hymnal because it's so famous. I think the guy that wrote this says this is like the top 5 most requested hymn to get the hymnal. But it says the Gaithers say it was written in 1971 in the midst of social upheaval, threats of war, and betrayals of national and personal trust. Sounds all familiar, right? Mm-hmm. It was into this world at such a time that they were bringing in their third little baby. Assassinations, drug traffic, and war monopolized headlines. It was in the midst of this kind of uncertainty that the assurance of the lordship of the risen Christ blew across our troubled minds like a cooling breeze in a parched desert. Holding our tiny son in our arms, we were able to write, and this is, I think, the second verse, how sweet to hold our newborn baby and feel the pride and joy he gives, but greater still the calm assurance this child can face uncertain day because he lives. So they wrote that during all this turmoil in the early 70s as an uplifting song to give, I guess, maybe peace or give support and encouragement to people that were struggling. So I do enjoy it. I found a rendition that I not heard before by a Celtic group that has some nice tune in the background. So I'll post that with our playlist. It's more contemporary, maybe upbeat to what the Gaithers has sung, but I enjoyed that rendition, so I'll have to post it.
Yeah, the Gaithers are from Alexandria, Indiana, which is really close to Anderson, where I grew up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
did you meet them at all? You come across
I did not meet them. Sandy Patty is also from Anderson.
Oh, really?
Okay. So
well, they got
I've not met her either.
There's a lot of famous people in that area.
Yeah. Well, they used to anyway. They had a recording studio there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, So I am very familiar with a lot of Gaither music because it was popular around there.
Did you ever see him in concert?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. I know my parents and my grandparents saw them in concert. They were obsessed with them in the 90s or something, it seemed like. Okay, number one for you.
This is my number one. I think it was my number one last year too. Too Good by Jess Ray. The music I really like. It's kind of folksy. And I just love the words. The chorus is, it may be too good to be understood, but it's not too good to be true. And she's just talking about how, Jesus gives us salvation. It's not just about going to heaven when you die. It's about being completely healed. And some of the lyrics, she just starts out with, it is not, as we've heard, it is not as, we've been told these things, but we need to look at it in a new way, because God is not frowning at us and mad at us and gonna smite us and smack us down. That it's about grace, and and she just, there's like the second verse is about if you if you don't have anything, you are welcome to the table, and one of the lines is, sweetheart, quit cutting your sweet arms, and just that whole, people, we've talked about this before. People, get to a point in their lives sometimes and they feel like they're too far gone for God. And I think that's kind of what she's getting at, is nobody's too far gone. And toward the end of it, she sings, he may be too good to be understood, but he's not too good to be alive. And I don't know. That one kind of gives me chills.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, great. Well, there's our top 5 list. What do you all think about that? Did we miss anything in your honorable mentions? I will say, so I posted this question on Friday. I was just looking at the, so we had one person say The Old Rugged Cross and Amazing Grace. Someone also said the song I'm not familiar with, Old Jerusalem. Do you know that song?
Not off the top of my head, but
Okay.
yeah, it's probably, if I had to guess, like 40s or 50s.
Okay.
I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's an oldie.
And then Christ the Lord is risen today, and then Because He Lives. So got a good, it looks like we have most of those songs are on this top 5 list. So any other songs we missed, put them in the chat, or if you're watching this afterwards, still put a comment in there. We'd love to see what other songs that
I think it's
that you
hard to
enjoy.
think of Easter songs.
It was.
It's easy to think of Christmas songs because there are so many.
So I was going in thinking it'd be easy to find Easter songs. I was like, there's got to be a ton of contemporary Christian songs, but there's not a lot. I mean, there are some, but they're not really like my favorite songs.
Yeah, and there are songs and hymns that maybe don't fit that.
Yeah.
This is an Easter song.
Well, that's what I found. That's why I had to do some of this stuff. Like, I think some of these songs aren't under the Easter. They're under like.
Yeah, Because He Lives is not in the Easter section.
Yeah, it's under the other. What is it?
And the Old Rugged
Forgiving
Cross
or
is
something.
not.
Yeah, it's
not an Easter song.
But I still.
I mean, it's not in the Easter section. Let me say that.
Yeah, I'm not finding it. Yeah, but it's a different. I don't know. Anyway.
Ooh, yeah. Mary said. Most of those are my favorites as well. One that comes to mind every Easter morning is Was It a Morning Like This? And it is definitely Sandi Patty. And I thought about that one for my list. She has more than one Easter song that I like. But, I wanted to be Sandi Patty when I was younger. So
Why is that?
Because she's a fabulous vocalist. She's amazing.
Okay.
And she was from my hometown too. And I just, I think she was just beginning to get famous when I was in high school. And I was like, I want to sing like that. So I had like almost every Sandi Patty songbook there was. And I have sung many a Sandi Patty song, including that one. Was It a Morning Like This is really good.
Okay, so you started, I'm trying to find let's see. The one song that I mentioned that I'm surprised none of us picked or no one put on there is the Hallelujah chorus, right? That always is a song that is sung at the end of the Easter service, right?
Really? Oh,
Is
yeah,
it?
I guess it is.
Yeah.
For some. I mean, that.
For some, okay.
That I have never, this is the only, St. Andrew's the only church I've ever experienced that.
Really? Because we did it growing up in we grew up Presbyterian. They did at the Presbyterian church as well. So this is the only church. Okay, maybe that's not a common thing. I've just been sheltered in my Easter experience. That seems to be a famous one. Hallelujah, hallelujah as well. So, well, great. Well, thanks for watching us tonight. If you're watching us again after this went live, feel free to put some more comments. We'll see what other people think about their favorite songs. So coming up this Thursday, we'll have another Digging Deep. Is there any teaser you want to give, or we just need to wait till Wednesday teaser comes out?
I can't remember what I talked about yesterday.
Okay. I guess we'll find out on Thursday. Be surprised with Kelly.
Oh, now I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Mary anointing Jesus' feet with the very expensive perfume. So.
Okay. So tune in on Thursday, 7 p.m. right here to hear
find
more about
out how much nard would cost today.
Is that what it was called?
Well, yeah, it's usually known as spike nard.
Okay.
But yeah, it's expensive.
we'll have to find out today. See how much she spent on Jesus' feet. And then we'll be back here again next Monday for another Josh Wonders Why. It will be what I want to talk about is debunking some myths about Easter and the Easter story. So tune in. We'll have some myths to talk about, some maybe misunderstandings, misassumptions about Easter. And if you have any myths that you'd like us to talk about or any questions about Easter, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll probably post something later this week to see if anybody has any other questions about Easter that we can try to stump Kelly about.
Great.
Yeah, because that's what we do here. We try to stump you.
That's right. And I love it.
So great. So thanks again for watching us. Thanks for joining us again, Kelly. And we'll talk to you all later. Have a good night.
Bye.